Well, hello and welcome to this 32nd edition of the Echo Chamberlain livestream. Now, they all out here saying we'd never make it to 32, but why are they trying to front? You clowning on my stream, then you're about to get bounced. Do you feel me? I know that I'm all up here and you need me to be all down here, so I'm going to pump my brakes for a second, but you better back your ass up because I keep it 100%, all right? So now I'm about to introduce the crew. My first guest. Okay, just to let you know, your boy going to be bigger than Jobs, bigger than Gates, bigger than Pym, bigger than Stark. Come on, it's Greg Owen.
Yo, what it do on the really? Word up! I wasn't prepped to be so relevant for the youth. I don't have my binder or anything, but I feel cooler
binder
used that way. Skibbity, yo.
Skibbity, there you go. The kids here in New Zealand, they say Skibbity, Ohio for some reason. Or they say Sigma, Ohio. That's like a nice pairing they have. I don't understand.
I don't know what that is either. I don't know why. I don't know. I have my own kids, and you know what the funny thing is? They don't know either. They just say it. I'm like, what is this shit? What is all that? They don't know either. They have no clue, but they just do it.
Yeah. Well, are you excited for? I think they're going to increase the debt ceiling by $5 trillion in a day or two. It's exciting. So it's going to go from what, 37 to 42 trillion? That's exciting.
The money doesn't even the numbers don't even matter anymore. We're counting points on whose line is it anyway at this point. With our budget, it doesn't.
Nice analogy.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't matter at all. We spend on whatever. We'll just. Who cares?
Who cares? Yeah. All right. Well, let's bring in our second guest. The money above him will never notice his brilliance until he forces them. He's going to snatch every iota of power, and they're terrified. It's Despot of Antrim.
Hey, white people.
Yo, what up? What's going on? How's the broiling hot, steaming South Korea at the moment?
Very hot. Yeah, it was 31 degrees yesterday. I think my internet's shit, so I'm gonna go fix it. So I'm gonna have to leave for a minute.
All right.
But yes, it's great to be here, and thanks everyone for listening.
All right, brilliant. Okie doke. Bring on our next guest. Well, who the hell else would it be, Bish? It's Movie Cynic.
Of course it's me. Bish.
How we doing?
Oh, not bad. How are you guys?
What's it like luxuriating and hitting 200,000 subs?
It's the same as hitting like 100,000. So I don't know. Law of diminishing returns, I guess.
God, he's so chill about it.
I know. He's worse than Reaper.
Little Platoon is way worse than me. Little Platoon's really chill. He doesn't even care about his plaque. He doesn't know where it is.
He got to 200,000, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he? Yeah. I mean, I was more excited about that than he was. You know, I was watching. I was almost
exactly.
It was the online equivalent of edging because it was just like within 500 for about a week or two. It just stayed there.
Yeah, for a while.
Exciting.
I remember.
I had to remind Reaper. I had to tell Reaper that he was on the cusp of 100,000, and he went, "Am I?" And he had to look it up for himself because he just doesn't care. It's the strangest thing.
Some people just don't care, man. Yeah.
All right, and on to our last guest. Well, she's wrapped up in some sketchy shit. I don't know what it is, but it ain't from around here. It's Kristen McTiernan. How are you doing? Making your return to the Echo Chamberlain live stream. How are you?
Doing well. Sketch as hell, and I love that you're appropriating my culture, but I forgive you.
Yeah, I mean, Greg, am I wrapped up in enough inoculating layers of irony for me to get away with this, or am I in trouble? What's going on?
I think what you need is some skinny jeans. I think that would really help out a lot. And I don't know, like the kids aren't wearing scarves, but I feel like maybe it would be another layer if you went beatnik and backward and you did the scarf thing as well. I don't know.
I feel that if I'm in New Zealand and I do it with a deliberately kind of pseudo-gentrified accent, so I'm being heaped in layers of irony, and we're also talking about the media content that's teed up, I feel there's enough inoculating layers. irony
I like it.
for me to get away with.
I'm good with it.
Okay, well, I'm going to live with it. Anyway, so the world of publishing, Kristen, I'm out on submission at the moment, and I've had some full requests. Had like 4 or 5 of them,
Oh,
and it's good.
that's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting, but it's also super stressful because it means you're super closer to what you dream of and what you really want. So that means the crash will be even worse if it doesn't pan out. But I don't know. There's always chances and opportunities, but it's like I said, it's stressful. Let's see if Despot has how's things with the tech.
Yeah, a bit better now.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Let's get straight into it. I'll just bring up the thing, and we need to talk about obviously the most important thing to me and to Greg as well, which of course is K-pop Demon Hunters. Greg, come on, this show was astonishing. It's unbelievable. It starts off and you just think it's going to be like a zippy, fun, campy show. But what I wasn't expecting is that with extraordinary narrative economy, by the second act, you're already ensconced in something with deeper meaning, with deeper themes about shame, about identity, about friendship, about love, about found family, about redemption. All of these themes coming to the fore in this perfectly executed, beautiful show. So I'm all about the show, Greg.
Yeah, I'm glad other people agree. I was shocked by the storytelling quality of it, and like you're saying, the economy of it. I think the music plays in really well. The musical lyrics play in really well. It does a great job, like a musical should, where the songs actually play into the themes and the plot, and they advance it and they fill in the backstory. And yeah, I was astounded at how well of the production was put together, because I thought, hey, it's going to look cool. I'm going to watch this anyway, and
looked incredible.
Very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, because you were going to sit down to watch this in a kind of like cheesy, family, ironic, kind of like goofy kind of thing, and then it must have like turned into something more profound. It's extraordinary.
It did. By the end, I mean, I was emotionally invested in this, and this little relationship that they had going on. I mean, like, I was surprised at myself for being so as into it as I was.
Yeah, the chemistry between Rumi and Ginu just sizzling off the screen, and plus some cool action scenes. The animation looks incredible with the death.
The animation is beautiful, because we're going to talk about Elio a bit later, and we'll talk about what's wrong with that animation. But the animation it's so dynamic and just fun, entertaining, great to look at. I mean, even look at the color combinations they've used in the top left there. That is beautiful animation, excellent art design.
Yeah.
If you look at the K-pop boy group again, beautiful color combinations.
Yeah,
it's superb animation. It looks simple, but it's actually very, very clever. There's a lot going on there. They make it look easy.
Just really funny, just consistently funny. With all the shit that's going on in this thing. It's beautiful.
So I started looking things up about it, and I was very shocked. And Despot I don't know how in tune to the K-pop scene he is, just because he's local, but I was shocked at people adding details that there's a lot of commentary on K-pop culture and like K-pop idol culture and that whole music scene and everything. And there's a lot of depth to it, apparently, that even I didn't catch, but you don't have to know it for the movie to still work and be great. And then for those that do, it's just an added layer of depth. The names of these boys apparently are a commentary on the various parasocial relationships about K-pop stars and stuff. Like it is a layered ass movie.
Yeah, I'm not into K-pop at all. I've got nothing against it. There's definitely some banging tunes out there. It's not like my relationship with rap, where I really just don't like it at all.
But what about Bob Vylan? Bob Vylan's
apart from him, he's a genius. But just not that interested. But maybe there's some messaging and themes examining. For example, there's a lot of suicide, unfortunately, goes on with K-pop stars, especially kind of wash-ups.
Really?
K-pop stars like you'll hear about some guy who offed himself when he was, say, 38 and he was 10 years past his prime. Then there was a scandal recently in which a guy, I can't remember if it was an actor or a K-pop star, but he got some celebrity pregnant and she killed herself or something like that, or he's accused of getting her pregnant. All sorts of scandal in K-pop.
There's also that interesting thing where isn't like a military service compulsory for young people there? So they often, the boy bands, they get taken out at random times to fulfill their service. I think that happened with one.
They have to go into the
K-pop.
military before the age of 30 to do 18 months to 2 years, depending on what branch of the military they go into. And they can choose, though. I mean, if they want to go in at the age of 29, when their career is pretty much done anyway, like, because if you're in a K-pop band by that age, it's a cruel business. Like, it's for the very, very young and very, very talented. You know, there is no room. If you're 30 in the K-pop business, like, you're considered old. So it's all right to go into the 29-year-old in the military, because by that time you're done anyway. Unless you're a megastar, in which case your audience will still be there when you come back.
Yeah. It's funny though, because I would never listen to K-pop. It'd be like the least genre. But through the filter of this film, where they came up with these brilliant, super tropey songs, I found myself actually really kind of enjoying it. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Over on Woman Twitter, they were talking about how it's unrealistic because they have scenes of the girls eating, and apparently that is against K-pop culture. So,
by the way, Christine, do you find the sort of K-pop men, like, I'm sure you've seen images of them, that the Eastern Weibo types, at all attractive?
repulsive to my very core.
No, really? What about the abs?
Absolutely.
Nope.
I've seen if I'm walking with my family to a park, I'll see long lines of girls lining up to get autographs and to go into this, like, I don't know what it is. It's like a K-pop booth where they go and they get photos with some sort of like 3D green screen background of K-pop bands. But there's always a long line of 100% teenage girls, and it's some obscure K-pop boy band that they want to go and interact with or something. But they love these guys. Like, they're in love with these very dweeby looking skinny K-pop boy types.
Not for
It's
teenagers.
not even
that's
androgynous.
normal.
It's
You know,
it's
my
kind
age.
of, it's kind of
what were you
epicene.
saying?
Yeah, go ahead, Kristen.
In my day, it was Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Jonathan Brandis, the very feminine, soft-jawed, sweet-looking boys. So for teenage girls, that's age appropriate. I get alarmed when there's 25, 30-year-old women who are going nuts over the K-pop boys. Something's amiss there. Something amiss.
But Jinu's narrative arc was great. You know, keeps revealing these new layers and stuff to keep, and you're speculating. You're not quite sure, and the comedic Blue Tiger. Come on with the thing there that he keeps pouring at and can't quite put back together on the thing. It was hilarious. Great stuff.
Yeah. Well, the balance
So,
of
yeah.
it was really great, because it wasn't too much of that. It wasn't too much of the music. It wasn't too much of this romance thing. It wasn't too much of the sight gags and the food eating and all. Like, it was, they knew when to cut it. And I feel like everybody at Marvel needs to watch this and go, okay, take notes. Only tell the joke for 5 seconds and then let it go.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, so just a beautiful thing, and everyone should go check it out. Now, I wanted to go to the dialogue leaderboard, because we have this thing here, I'm going to be a dad, which is everyone's favorite, but we need to know where exactly it stands. So what I've done is I've put together the dialogue leaderboard, and we need to know what's it going to push out and where is it going to rank. So I put in the top rankings, something a male presenting Time Lord would never understand. It's going to be number 1 as an all-time classic. Get Away From Her, You Bitch, from Alien Romulus at number 2. Your Path is Made of Seawater. Take Care to Keep Your Feet Beneath You. It's a Long Way to the Bottom, from Rings of Power, comes in at 3rd place. Do You Know Why a Ship Floats and a Stone Cannot? Takes 4th place. But You're Not All Boys, from Peter Pan and Wendy, takes the 5th. Was it the 5th? I'm an expert at controlling anger because I do it infinitely more than you, takes the secure in the 6th spot. Sometimes even the right reasons have the wrong consequences. That's from Ahsoka. Filled up the condom jar if you need a re-up. That's from Robin Hood. Sauron used me, and under his hand was played like a harp, but to a melody not of my choosing. Again, Rings of Power. And the Jedi are good, the Jedi are bad, from the Acolyte. So on the dialogue leaderboard, we're going to keep this as a running thing. So whenever there's a new banger that comes up in the culture, some new show spits out some stupid line of dialogue, we have to decide if it's going to go on the leaderboard and if it earns a place. So I'm going to be a dad from The Last of Us. Where do you guys think it should place on the leaderboard?
Well, we should start at the bottom. I think it's definitely better than the Jedi are good, the Jedi are bad, because at least the Jedi are good, the Jedi are bad. They're having a debate. You know, it's little girls engaging in debate, and it's perhaps not the most sophisticated level of debate, but you've got to start somewhere, right? So I think it's better than that. Sauron used me, and under his hand I was played like a harp. Again, I could see a woman who's perhaps not particularly articulate. She's not the most eloquent, coming up with a clunky metaphor like that. So there's a redeeming aspect there. So I could put it above that. Filled up the condom jar for me to re-up. Now I'm struggling. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a little bit deeper now.
Because she's trying to say it jokingly, I think it's got to go below I'm an expert at controlling anger, because that was meant to be very serious, and that was like an actual no, that was atrocious right there. It's been a long time. You've blocked it out, but that was laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Funny.
Because this one has an intense socio-cultural dimension to it of hyper flakiness and also ridiculous presumption about laying claim to someone else's biological child as your own, and then the director having a little featurette where he says, and we wanted Ali to just say this with so much like passion and freedom, and it just comes out in a hyper flaky way as well. So there is that backdrop to it. I think this does go above filled up the condom jar if you need a re-up, because that was just cringe, whereas this has an extra dimension to it. It probably goes above the Ahsoka one, which is kind of innocuous because it's stupid rhetorically and linguistically, and it's like a pseudo profundity. So I guess it gets above there as well. So Greg's probably right. It does hover somewhere near I'm an expert at controlling anger.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's the fact that it's not too serious. Like, but you're not all boys is a serious slap in the face to the audience. Like, how dare the Lost Boys be so sexist? Like, that's very, it's very sanctimonious sort of woke schooled Karen. It's just awful. It's not that bad, but yeah, Greg's right. It's probably somewhere below or above him, an expert at controlling my anger.
I put just below myself.
I think it's around where Sauron used me.
Really, you're going all the way down there, but this is a banger. This is an all-time classic.
But there are a lot of bangers on here. Some of these are very memorable lines, So, and the dad line is also memorable, so it belongs on here, but it can't replace a lot of these. Is what I'm feeling.
It also has the disordered family dynamics of filling up the condom jar to your daughter.
All right. So we're definitely saying goodbye to the Jedi are good, the Jedi are bad. And we're placing this under I'm an expert at controlling anger. Is that where everyone is happy?
Yeah, looks good to me.
Okay. All right. That's going to be the new one. A couple of others would Toot Toot from the new show we just watched. Would that get a look in, do you think? From Slug, the espionage computer specialist with the long nails, saying, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm like wanted in the whole city. Toot toot. Does that get a look in, or is that just not?
I'm gonna wait until the series is over because I bet it gives us another golden.
I thought the best piece of dialogue they've come up with was "Hello, black people." Like that.
Yeah,
that
was pretty good.
Personally, my personal favorite.
I knew
the comments of my video were saying that black people talk like that, though. That was the defense.
They actually talk like that.
They really do.
Black people will walk into a room and say "Hello, black people," like unironically.
So
now here's the thing: if they think it's just people of color in the room, I'm married into a family of color, and there have been a couple times, oh, good morning, black people. Oh, then they'll like. Code switch, I guess they call it. It's like the white
code switch. I like that.
So
that is the thing that people do. Yeah.
I had an old black woman explain this to me because the folks that live behind us, if a black family lives behind us, and our kids play together, and their son is a little older, and my son was acting kind of like a jackass around him, and I was like, dude, you just I can see what you're doing, like you're trying to impress this kid, and you need to quit. Like you can't play with him for a while because you're just being ridiculous. So this kid told his parents, hey, he can't play with me, but didn't tell him why. Details got lost. So this kid's grandma comes out to me, and she is like, if you're thinking old black Southern grandma, like you're picturing this woman, like she's the most stereotypical, even had kind of a wispy voice. And she wanted to make sure that her son didn't do anything wrong. And she had assumed that he had said something offensive. And I'm not going to hurt your channel here, but she goes, in our culture, I just want you to know he didn't mean anything by it. It's very normal for us to greet one another by saying, what up, my ninja? And and that's a normal thing. We do that, so I don't want you to be offended. And I'm trying to keep a straight face as this old, polite woman so politely and sweetly explains to me that that is such natural vernacular. And I'm like, ma'am, that's not what the issue is, but I appreciate the clarification. Thank you so much.
That's a strange conversation over the fence with a lovely, adorable little old biddy.
I wanted to be anywhere else.
Echo, what was that line you were complaining about in your video? It was this
I think about it all the time. Yeah, I repeat it to myself like a mantra now. Yeah, I repeat it to myself like, it's the guy who's ostensibly kind of like the love interest, and he keeps cropping up as kind of like the moral core for the show. And he gives her the mixtape, and he says, something positive, and then he says, I mean that not just colloquially, not entirely pejoratively. And I'm fascinated. But it's like if I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, if I'm looking at the post, I'll just repeat it to myself like a mantra over and over because it's so weird. It's a strange thing to say. I looked into it, and one of the writers is like an urban poet who gives guest lectures and tours around colleges. And so I guess that was her little interpolation. She thought that's got a cool, sassy rhythm to it. It's just so strange. When I made my video, that's literally me just stuffing up trying to say it like colloquially, and so I had to do it like 3 times just to get the language out because it's such a strange, unnatural construction to say.
It's kind of antiquated now, but there was a terrible time around the 2010s where people would just like bust out some slam poetry on you in normal conversation. And it's like, no, if you want to hang out in this house, you have to stop. Like you had to have an intervention.
For about 5 years, CNN would have a guest commentator who was a black academic who would just occasionally drop into that kind of stuff. And I think CNN felt that it was like authentic for them to have that on.
Was it the bald woman or the man with the glasses and the tall hair?
I know exactly.
Man with the glasses and the gigantic gap in the front teeth. That guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually who I was picturing when you said that.
Yeah.
So the showrunner, like it's impossible to parody this show because I was trying to look up who's in it, and the showrunner is Shanaka Hodge or Chinaka Hodge. I don't pronounce her name, but she's the one that's like famous for being an educator and a poet, and a lot of her poetry is about gentrification. And I thought, if I was trying to make fun of this show, like, haha, it seems like they hired a liberal professor who writes poetry about gentrification, I can't top what they fucking did to write this show, and I don't know how to explain how powerful that is.
Well, Greg's lost for words. So I'm going to be a dad finds its place on the leaderboard. So it's going to be hard because, it takes a super banger to get onto that leaderboard now, but we'll just keep it there as a running thing. Elio. Well, geez, my face is red. I've got egg on my face after I speculated this might actually be endearing and nice. Should have my head examined. Turned out to be one of the biggest blah nothings. Made 22 million on its opening, which is staggering. Absolutely crazy stuff. So desperate, I don't know why I should just listen to you all the time. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Who saw this? Just me and
Right.
Greg. Man, I went to see this 2 days ago, and if I hadn't had like a triple shot coffee, I would have fallen asleep in the theater. This thing was horrific. It was so boring and messy. Here's how I look at it. And I'm going to use an analogy. Imagine, and I know scatological humor is overdone, but bear with me. Imagine a giant pile of shit, right?
Okay.
Describing what is wrong with this movie is like walking around a giant pile of shit and pointing out to different parts and say, "Oh, do you see that malformation there? Like, it looks kind of wrong." Or, "Man, can you smell that? It smells bad, but it smells really bad on this patch. Like, lean in and smell that patch." That's what it's like trying to critique this movie. Everything is wrong with this. Literally everything. The animation is so bad.
It looks unappealing. The animation.
It's very informative, actually. If you're studying animation or you just want to know a little bit more about filmmaking, this is how I found out about the rule of thirds, actually, because Film Talk, they were talking about this on their channel, Film Threat, and basically you've got the rule of thirds where you divide the screen in 3, and you want the action happening a lot of the time on either side of the video. Hopefully, Despot will do a video on Elio. I will do it at the end of the year because it's going to be in my worst movies of the year, so it'll get in there. But basically, the action the central action in this movie is always happening in the central third of the screen. And it's not just that is a bad idea in and of itself. You can do it like on occasion, but it's 100% of the shots pretty much. In 100% of the frames, the character in the shot is right in the center. And it's just this visual monotony. It's so boring to look at. You get it. I mean, once you see it, you can't unsee it once you know what you're looking at. But most people wouldn't know why they're so bored visually looking at this thing because they don't know the role of thirds. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It is just horrible to experience visually. Greg, what were your thoughts on the animation?
What bothered me the most about it is that this movie lacks any sort of character, like in the background. The movie itself is very bland. Like you have a space station full of aliens, and you had the chance to really go crazy, and not just. And this isn't just a Pixar thing, although they are really good at this traditionally. But any animation studio, you should be paying attention to the environment. There should be environmental storytelling. If you're going to have an alien space station with aliens, you want to. That's your chance to do something. How do they interact with the environment differently? How do they get around differently? How do they speak differently? What does their design say about their character? If you look at other really famous animated movies, I was talking about this, I did a short review, but just if you look at Lilo and Stitch, you have the big shark general guy, and his design, everything about him says what you know about. He's gruff and he's just going to explode problems. That's how he solves them. The grand vizier lady, whatever, that's hosting the trial, she's tall, she's slim, she's elegant, she's clearly in charge. She steeples her fingers as she speaks. Like everything about her says authority, but regal authority. Even other ones you look at, like How to Train Your Dragon, the original animated one, Stoic. The Vast is fucking big, and the other kids that Hiccup interacts with they look like their personality. And in this movie, and you just go on and on, all these famous animated movies.
Well, yeah, just to jump in there, like if you took The Incredibles, if you just literally had just the black silhouettes of each of those characters, you'd instantly recognize what they are just from their profile.
Yeah, and this is just, it's so just bland.
I learned this little shortcut about character design when I was studying Concord. You remember Concord, that video game that bombed and the character designs were infamously terrible? So I did I was studying character design a little bit from a video I did on that. And one shortcut I learned is, even if you don't know much about character design, just look at the character and ask yourself, what does the design of the character tell me about the character's personality or behavior? What does the design tell me about the character? And you just look at this poster. You got the slug on the left. What does the slug, Kristen, I'll ask you, what do you imagine the character on the left there is like, that slug thing?
I picture him as an alien kind of sweet simpleton, like the golden retriever from Up, but perhaps less endearing.
That's
I think more like those tiny little creatures they put under a microscope, which just have a mouth and they're like a bacteria.
Water bears. Okay.
Yeah, Kristen actually got it. That's a fairly good summation of the character. So I suppose it communicates that somewhat well with its dog-like big mouth and the tongue hanging out. But that's kind of what that character's like. But it's so bland if to look at it. It has no features. It's two-tone. And it doesn't have a face. It just has a hole in the middle. It looks kind of like a penis, actually, like a diseased penis.
You're saying that this animation style kind of evokes Steven Universe?
Grubhub. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Also, this is beanhead animation. All of and Pixar do this now. They did this in Strange World. Everyone's head is just a bean. Even their bodies have kind of a bean shape. And it's really boring, monotonous, and repetitive visually. Everyone and everything is just a bean. And Pixar seem to be allergic to right angles. Like everything is curved. There's no geometry to anything. It's just so bland and boring to look at.
And environments are getting more and more abstract. You don't know where the boundaries of things are in these films anymore. It's just these huge, amorphous, boundaryless, abstract, colorful, soft, glowy kind of landscapes everywhere. So there's a lack of boundary to
as
stuff.
well. Like look at just the lack of contrast. Where's the shadow?
Well,
there's like one.
No, this is a
shadow
Grubhub commercial. This is a Grubhub commercial from 2020. I used as
that's what I'm saying.
convey.
But this looks like a lot of these Pixar animations. There's no contrast. Everything is overexposed. It's too bright. It's too shapeless. There's not enough geometry. It's just hideous.
Yeah. Well, and then like I wasn't a big fan of Pixar's Elemental, but there was, like I said, there was character to that world also. It wasn't just the characters. They really fleshed out the places where they live, the cloud people and their accommodations, the fire people in Firetown and all of that. Like they really made a whole world instead of just let's just stick some generic colors and alien like and if you I don't know if you have any screenshots of it, it's kind of hard to find, but like the communist verse where they go it's every color under the fucking rainbow. There's no cohesion whatsoever in this place. Like Despot is absolutely spot on. Like it's so overexposed. Everything is bright and cotton candy colored. It's a giant rainbow blur.
And that's the thing, though. The animation in that movie is so bad that it's actually taking attention away from all the other problems. Like Elio was a pretty bad character, and Elio's personality, I figured out he's an adorable princess, but he's male. That's his character.
Here's the thing. So revelations are starting to come out because they did a test screening and they showed it to the audience and they asked them to raise their hand if you would pay to see this, and apparently not a single person in the test audience raised their hand, and so they went into super chronic panic mode. And it also turns out that the creator, showrunner, main developer guy, being gay, wanted this thing to be super gay coded, and so there's scenes where he's on the beach and he's into trashin', which means finding clothes or random trinkets and stuff on the beach, which he can then turn into trash fashion, which is trashin'. And then there was supposed to be images on his bedroom wall that would be queer coded as well, until the executive stepped in and said, literally, we need to make him more masculine. So this is his masculine iteration. So I can imagine what was prior. So it's really strange because
that goes beyond strange, man. I'm calling this shit out. That is pedophilic. This is a pre-teenage boy. You don't want to sexualize a character like that and suggest that he's into dudes. That is really fucking creepy.
Well, let's go through it because it's starting to play in my mind because I'm usually liberal about this kind of thing, but there is a theme. You remember what was it? The Italian one? What was it called? Rocco the Luca. And again, that was super queer coded as like a queer awakening where beneath the surface of the water they're fish-like and above the surface it's like person-like. So that was super queer coded. And then you had Elemental had its first openly non-binary character, which was Pond Ripple or River Ripple, the guy in the middle. So I don't know. I guess he's literally gender fluid because he's made out of water. Then you had Lightyear, which is a Disney one, which had the lesbian couple raising their son there. Raya and the Dragon, whatever it's called. And the actress doing the voiceover said that she deliberately voiced her over and characterized her as going on a lesbian gay character arc. And then there was a Strange World, which was literally a young teen blossoming gay romance. So this is all in the last 5 years, and it's pretty hardcore in its themes and stuff. Even for me, when I'm pretty liberal on this stuff, that's getting up there with the messaging.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having the queer content. I mean, I went to see a movie last week called Queer. Jesus, I could talk about that. That's one of the worst things I've seen over the past year. And it's not due to all the gay sex. It's just an abysmal film. It's the same guy who directed Call Me By Your Name.
That guy is I've shifted on that guy now. He is the biggest modern phony, most pseudo auteur there is out there. So I've done a big shift.
Have you seen Queer, Echo?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Well, look, just, be warned. It's one of the worst fucking things you'll ever see. But if you watch that movie, you will come to absolutely detest Luca Guadagnino. He is just a pretentious.
So we're gonna have to do we're gonna have to do a special stream, just like bros, like we did last time on this.
Yeah, we'll do Queer, but there's whatever, and we'll not talk about Queer. But look, it's its own wee thing. It's a niche piece of Oscar bait trash, although the budget was way too high for it. But that's what gay cinema should be. Very niche. It's okay for gay stuff to be marginal because it is a marginal community. It's there at the margin society doing its own thing. Nobody's bothering them. That's fine. They can just make their own wee low budget movies for themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not everything needs to be corporate and mainstream. And when you do try to make everything gay and shove it into audiences' faces, even though mainstream audiences aren't gay and are not into this shit, it's going to bomb. It's just leave it in its own wee niche. That's fine. It's very frustrating and it's very annoying. Not everything needs to be corporate slop.
Yeah. So corporate slop, virtue signaling. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just just taper off a little bit is all I'm saying. But I don't know. Anyway, we need to go on this. This is your contribution, Greg. So this is fantastic. So you sent me a whole bunch of slides. You sent me a whole bunch of stuff, which I turned into slides. And we have to decide. So you tee it up, Greg. So give us the gist of this.
Well, I don't know a lot about music like Echo, and I didn't follow the indie book scene like Despot, and I wanted to join in on the guessing game, the real or fake guessing game, but I don't have a lot of real good skills. So last time drag queens came up, and I volunteered to find some real drag queens and get elbow deep in the weird world of drag queens, and then I made up my own names. So we're going to look at some drag queen names and a little tagline to describe their show style. Some of them are real, some of them are fake, and you guys got to tell which ones are which.
Okay. I like being on the other side of this because I know all the tricks, I know the psychology behind all this. I'm going to try and use that.
Greg knows the tricks and the psychology, but you don't know that he knows those tricks. So he could be.
Yeah, but I preemptively know that he's going to do that. So by, I can put it through that.
He knows that you preemptively know that he knows that he's going to do that. So he might turn that back on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he thinks that he's 10 steps ahead of me, but I'm playing 3-dimensional chess with him where he thinks he's playing 4-dimensional chess with me. But anyway, so let's try our first one. And we have to decide if it's real or not. So silky nutmeg ganache, munch, munch, crunch, crunch. This Southern belle is here to eat the lunch.
That's right.
No, Greg has to read them. Greg has to read
them.
Yeah,
I think that's fair, yeah.
I
want to hear it in a mellow, subdued Midwestern accent. I think.
I'll read them as echo as I can.
What out of that?
Silky nutmeg ganache, munch, munch, crunch, crunch. This Southern belle is here to eat the lunch.
Silky nutmeg ganache. It seems my initial reaction is it's too ridiculous to actually be real. But then I know that it's always good to start off by having one which is as ridiculous as possible, but also real as a little introductory thing. So I know that's usually the logic of how I do it. So I'm going to say that even though it's preposterous, I'm going to go over the top of that, understanding and filtering Greg's irony and preparation for this, and I'm going to say real.
Under the same logic, I say real. I think Greg is going to try to make the first one look fake by choosing the most ridiculous real one that he can.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the logic.
Kristen?
I think it's fake, just because their names are typically derivative of making female parts and femaleness disgusting rather than maleness. So I think it's fake.
Then again, though, Despot, has he... he's gone almost like in a thesaurus of things. So like texture, food stuff, like spice, and then he's also gone obscure food stuff. And he's just done little iterations of that and put them together in a way that kind of seems fun. So there is a little element here you could detect of, he's enjoying doing this one.
There's a sort of hodgepodge artificiality to it as well, isn't there?
So there is that. But I'm going to stick with my original. Yeah, Cynic?
Well, last time I played this, I built some momentum because I just...
No, you didn't. You were terrible last time you did this.
I think I got 50-50, dude. That's not too bad.
You were slow out of the gate, if I recall.
I was slow out of the gate, which I'll probably be here as well. I'm just going to say fake so that it's a 50-50 split. We'll see.
All right. Okay. Well, shit. Echo and Despot they've got me figured out because they were correct. This is real. Yeah. Silky nutmeg ganache is very real. Contestant on RuPaul's Drag Race, and the munch munch crunch crunch that was what she would say when she would come out onto the stage.
Does he really have vitiligo, or did you add that?
No, that's my generic one I have for all of them.
Okay.
Okay, right.
All right, next up.
I wonder if I can clean sweep this. I don't know if I can.
Shangri-La Tatas. Is this queen a heavenly dream or a drug? She'll Xanadu you right and leave you craving more.
Xanadu is too slick and wink wink as a cultural reference. That I don't think the bulk of drag queens are going to be. I don't know. Maybe but Shangri-La Tartars. I go fake on this one. I think it's got too much of a kind of 60s Vegas sleaze element to it, which seems a little retro and retrograde. And I think the Xanadu thing is just a little too cute. So I'm going Greg's made this one up.
I think Greg made this up because it's too verbose and it's not disgusting enough. There's nothing really gross here. So I think this is fake.
I also think it's fake for the verbosity. I think the announcer would hate this queen if they had to say that.
Yeah, I believe this is also fake. It's too wordy.
Okay. Well, Greg, you got an extraordinary.
I gotta tighten up the language. Obviously, that is Shangri-La is fake.
Don't feel bad, Greg. This is your first attempt. Actually, when I did indie movies, Greg scored. I only got him once. He got 9 out of 10 on the fucking thing.
Yeah. Well, you nearly got me with Wieberschnucken, Nockerschnocken, whatever it was called about the. That was right on the edge, that one, but I just reined it in time.
That was a movie I made up about a Palestinian refugees in Germany. But yeah.
Okay.
All right. Up next, we have Tammy Brown. She's not from this planet, or maybe just not from this century. Expect weird.
Right to the point.
Yeah. Well, I like expect weird. That's quite vernacular. I like that.
Like my face.
I like the sort of insinuation that there is some sort of fecal aspect to it. Tammy Brown. So it feels real to me.
But here's the thing, because Greg he knows that from time to time I'll do a feint where I'll make it deliberately kind of vanilla to try and get you that way. And I think what he's done here is that he's gone for a vanilla one, but contrasted with that is the expect weird, which I quite like. But he might have interpolated that from some other resource.
If he's tricking us here, then he's earned a point because I say this is real.
I say real too.
I'd say fake just because it's too vanilla, and if it's an allusion to something, I'm not getting it. So maybe I'm not depraved enough.
Okay. Cynic.
It seems like someone really wrote that because the ending, just 2 words, expect weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems real.
Okay.
Damn it all. I did try to throw a vanilla one in there. That is real. Tammy Brown is real. You guys are 3 for 3 right now.
Yeah, well, if you come for the king, you better not miss. Right? I know. Right. I know how this works.
Next time we do this, I'm going to have my wife do it because nobody knows her. It'll be.
That'll be perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Next up, we've got Meatball. Body Yaddy Yaddy meets Body Horror. This queen's comedy is spicy, sloppy, and served with sauce.
Well, this is character dependent. So if you have the individual is quite plump, is well padded, that could be part of their aesthetic. So they've got huge shimmering dresses, full length, to cope with the body weight. So maybe they're leaning into that Meatball, but it also seems too self-disparaging which jars with the notion of self-empowerment and fabulousness. So I think there's a clash there that seems incongruous to me. Spicy, sloppy, served with salt, it seems a bit much. So I think that there's a tension there relationally and aesthetically. So I'm going to go that this is fake.
I'm going to say this is fake because of the words body horror.
Big red flag there.
It's not empowering enough. If this really was a guy called Meatball, it would be like, I don't know, huge, hot, and sexy, something like that. It would be trying to empower this 300-pound blob who likes to dance around in dresses. So
it'd be
the body horror is what throws me off. That's a bit of a red flag for me. So this feels fake.
Yeah, same. Self-deprecating humor has very firm limits in any kind of the LGBTQ community. So I think the body horror line, I think it's fake.
Okay.
I'm saying it's real because there's no way Greg says body yaddy yaddy.
Let's find out.
It is in fact real. Meatball.
No way he's saying body yaddy yaddy. That's from a song.
God damn.
Greg didn't make
And
that
it
up.
is it's a sloppy, weird, nasty show. Some of them they get a little gross.
Wow. Body horror got in there. Jeez.
Oh,
So, you know,
Look at
my
that.
face is
Cynic
red.
ties you guys up 3 across. Kristen, you gotta pick it up. Kristen,
I'm so bad at this. I'm so vanilla. I'm terrible at this.
All right, I gotta sharpen up here.
all right. We've got Flopsy and Mopsy, a true sister act. These fluffy ladies will make you want to hop on down their bunny tails.
Flopsy and Mopsy. That checks out. That seems legit. True sister act. Okay, fine. Fluffy ladies. Yeah, make you want to hop on down. I didn't quite get the analogy here. Hop on down their bunny tails?
But that's the thing. That's why I think this is real, because it's quite badly written.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Would Greg deliberately come up with a really clunky description to make it look real?
Yeah, I think so. Make you want to hop on down their bunny. Yeah, I think this is real because it's clunky, it's awkward, it's kind of sloppy, it's low quality essentially. I think they were really happy with the name, so I'm leaning towards real. But I'm also worried that I seem to be losing my focus here. I've dropped a few points, but I'm going to go with real.
I want to say real, but I've been wrong on every single one. So it's like maybe I should go with the opposite of what I think.
Yeah, but that's what Despot did. Like, he got into a trap of doing that, and it just made things worse. So stick with your instinct.
Okay, I'll just say real.
Okay.
Greg made this up.
Why are you so definitive about that?
Because Flopsy and Mopsy and the bunny tails thing, that's like a children's story.
All right. Greg?
What was Echo and Despot? Were you real or fake?
I say
went
real
real.
because I think it's too
Yeah,
badly
both
written to come from you.
So I fucking did. You guys are all like, "This is shit writing," and I'm like, "Oh god." I made this one up.
Made this one up.
Like, I'm glad I fooled you, but I'm also terribly insulted.
No, but it makes that's the brilliant thing. You imitated the bad writing that they put out, so it's actually good writing from your perspective.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, think of the top 100 Billboard songs that I've come up with. They're not exactly Pulitzer Prize winning masterpieces. So
right. So, and that's the thing. Sometimes if you just get dumb, it's like, oh,
exactly.
Crap, those are the trickiest ones. Kristen, you should have trusted your gut.
Yeah. Jeez, what is Kristen?
That's the problem. I was thinking about because when my mother says turn left before GPS, we always know that means turn right because she is wrong every time. I think, yeah.
Greg, does Kristen have any points?
One point.
I didn't even know I had the one.
You're on the board.
Okay.
All right. Jenny, part dream, part nightmare. Her show is a coin toss of curiosity.
See, the thing about this is that it's quite creative. I actually quite like this. It's almost got like just one tiny drop of sophistication among the cesspool of rhetorical nonsense. Jenny, part dream, part nightmare. Her show is a coin toss of curiosity. Again, I lean real. Part dream is a coin toss of curiosity. Yeah, so there's one like the angel side, and then there's like the dark leather BDSM side, and that's like the shtick. So I think that's where that's going. I think Greg's going to pull one over me here, but I'm going to go with real.
This one feels real to me because it has a lot of depth. Greg would have had to actually sit down and make a kind of legend to go with this, because it does describe what you would expect from a drag queen. Where they have, I'm imagining that the drag queen comes out and he's initially dressed in a big fluffy white thing and he does a nice dance and then he throws it off and there's BDSM gear underneath. So that's what I'm guessing. So it feels very real. If it is fake, Greg did a great job with this one, but it feels real to me. But
there's one other element, which is it seems to give too much agency to the audience, which I think that a drag queen would be unwilling or unlikely to relinquish, where it gives the agency of the audience to sort of be part deciding which side of it's going to be at any one time, that there's a prompting element to it, which seems I'm not sure I would go with, but I'm sticking with
you're
my initial
overthinking it now,
assessment.
Echo. You're just
Yeah, I
overthinking.
know.
You're gonna
It's in my
think
head.
yourself into losing a point. Kristen, what do you
Okay,
think?
I'm going with my initial assessment that it's real.
I think it's real. We'll see.
This is
Cynic.
real.
It's real.
Isn't or is?
Is.
Okay.
Swept y'all. Made this one up.
Ah,
Wow,
damn.
good job.
Well done. Good
Again,
job,
I
Greg.
don't know that I
No,
like
no,
this
no.
game because like the fact
you
that
deserve
you're
that
like
one, Greg.
so realistic. I feel like now I feel like I know too much about drag queen. That's not good either.
No, you earned that point. That was
That's a good quality
that's
point.
One.
Very good quality. How does it feel, Greg? I've had a couple of three-time clean sweeps of a panel, and it's quite an accomplishment. So how does it feel?
It feels good. It feels like I really got tapped into my inner drag queen, and I actually did create that backstory. I was like, ooh, she has like a 50-50.
So just to keep score, Kristen is now 1 from 6. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think I'm 3 and 3. I started great, but I'm fucking.
Yeah, you
Where
guys,
am I?
you started
Greg?
strong. You're both 3 and 3. Cynic is leading with 4.
Damn.
He doesn't overthink it. That's the thing.
Yeah, he just jumps in.
Yeah, he just. I think that's what you got to do.
Simple.
All right. Next up, we have penetration. You don't have to ask. This big, beautiful 90s glamazon is always in.
I'm gonna trust my gut on this one. My gut says real, so I don't want to overthink it.
What?
I think I'm gonna go with the movie Cynic method and just trust my gut and say real.
But I think even by the standards of this, I think it's too gauche, it's too gratuitous, it's too obvious. There's too much of a trash element. I think Greg would have relished and got a little bit of sort of enjoyable self-congratulatory titillation about dredging up glamazon, 90s glamazon. I think culturally he's left a red flag there. I think I'm going with this fake, and if this turns out to be real, I'll be astonished, and I'll have to bow down to Greg, who's got aura in his Sigma. So, Kristen?
I think it's real because millennials are filthy and on the nose.
I also Greg, at some point, he will definitely have wanted to include like the filthiest real one he could.
That's a good point.
Yeah, this could be it here. I'm gonna have to say real as well.
Okay, hold on. Just going to reassess here. So this is the last one. Does he want to go out with a bang? To try and get us.
Yeah, I think because he started real.
Yeah.
And by that sort of psychological habit of making these, he'll also want to finish real just because he wants to start on a bang, he wants to finish on a bang.
There's that overthinking again.
Okay, I'm switching. I'm going to real. Greg?
Well, I swept y'all last time, but y'all got it this time. Penetration is very real.
I saved you there, Echo.
You saved me, yeah. Thanks, Brian, for my back.
You guys got my psychology down too, because I really did. I grabbed the nastiest sounding one, thinking that I made it up.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's the leaderboard then?
Cynic has got you guys 5 points. You two are right behind him with 4. Kristen got the extra one there, 2 points at the end.
2 points.
All right, not bad.
Jeez. Well done, Greg, and well done for me for finding the. That's just an image from Canva, by the way, that I found. So it's like a bald black person with vitiligo, if that's how you pronounce it. So anyway, okie doke. There's one. Shit, there's one more. Jesus. Oh, I can still tie with movie Cynic if I get this right. So go, Greg.
That's right. I forgot there was one more. Gracie Lou Freebush. The animals in her act might not bite, but that doesn't mean she won't.
Oh shit! Because now, if we thought the last one, we're going to shove out all that psychology that we just did, and it's going to go with my instinct. So, Gracie Lou Freebush. Fuck.
This one's a coin toss. I'm trying to look for red flags, indicators. The animals in her act might not bite, but that doesn't mean she won't.
There's Cynic, can you go first? I want Cynic to go first. All right.
Yeah, all right. Cynic, go first.
You're gonna ride his coat.
Yeah, exactly.
This one actually is the second to last. There's one more after this.
Oh shit. Okay. Cynic.
I think it's real.
I think it's real.
Kristen?
I say fake because they'd be worried about getting sued by the producers of Miss Congeniality.
I'm actually gonna say this is real because it's so fucking bland and boring. And if Greg did make it up, I think he would want to make up something a bit more interesting than this. Echo.
I think the pun, the jokey element is just too lame and cringe and obvious, even by the standards of low quality Z grade cabaret entertainment. So I'm going to go fake.
And Echo, you said fake?
That's correct.
This one is fake.
Fuck!
Damn.
It is I thought you guys would all recognize it for miscongeniality and think
I never saw it.
that somebody took that, or
Damn.
maybe not. I thought I'd get in your heads with that one. All right, we got one
So
more to
now,
go.
One more, and it's match point with me and Cynic. This is exciting.
That's right.
Hmm.
Right.
Okay.
You guys are tied up. Now you may have to just choose opposite here. Crystal Method, a walking acid trip in Clown Couture. She's here to melt minds and serve psychedelic chaos.
I'm saying it's too much. I'm saying it's too rich in detail and in signifiers. I'm saying the spelling is the sort of thing that I would do, to deliberately misspell as a kind of stylish, hip kind of name element. I think it's too clever. There's too much alliteration in there. You got Clown Couture, you've got Melt Minds. It's too clever by half, which means I'm saying this is definitively fake, and I'm going to ride this to the win against Cynic.
This sounds fake to me, just from having listened to a lot of Greg's videos. Like, she's here to melt minds and serve psychedelic chaos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it sounds very Greg. I'd be really surprised if this was real. So this seems fake to me.
Also seems fake to me. I don't feel like this would be.
By the way, I love how Greg is he's hiding his video, and like the way a poker player wears sunshades and does this.
Yeah,
hides when they're playing poker. He has a poker face.
I can't keep my face quiet. That's like there's no chance.
Okay.
This is real.
Shit. Okay, so you're going real. I'm going fake. Okay, Greg.
Crystal Method is real. She is a clown. She is an actual clown, and does this psychedelic trippy show. So I think that's Cynic with 6 points. Echo with 5. I don't even remember what anybody said there.
Yeah, I'm
I
5.
got myself confused.
Damn. Despot at 4.
I lost.
Yeah.
That was my match point. I lost 4 or 5. Very
Oh
disappointing.
boy. Well, thanks for that.
It's just hard to tell. You just never can tell.
Yeah.
Look at Greg is just being smug now. He's just glorying in his victory.
We could do this again because there are a lot of really crazy ass drag queen names.
All right. Well, the Paradise is going to become a recurring featurette. So hold on to your fans.
We'll have to cycle through you guys again. I gotta clean my system.
All right. Well, thank you, Greg. Because now we're going to talk about this toxic slop. It was not the greatest show ever made, I don't think. I made a little note that it's the only show which I think has plot armor, socio-cultural armor, and literal armor in the same show. That's pretty good going. Is this let's start off by saying, and just around the horn, is this the worst Marvel show?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually one of, like, if you look at it really, if you get past the haha, what a dumb, stupid cultural, like, 2019 moment, it's, as a show, the technicals of it's terrible. It is terrible, terrible writing, because so much of the show doesn't do anything. Her boyfriend, something, maybe love interest, Xavier, her mom, they serve zero purpose to the story whatsoever. They don't do anything. They don't reinforce or counter any themes whatsoever. They literally take up screen time for nothing. The same thing with like Eric Andre and the heist and all of that. Complete waste of time that not only does nothing, it actually undermines its own story, because Eric Andre is like a technical, I do wires and splicing or whatever. And they're like, we need you to replace him and bring your Iron Man suit and fly around and do nothing with wires whatsoever. And it's important that you replace him on the squad. So it really, like I said, all of the cultural stuff aside, this is a horribly written show that doesn't agree with itself from scene to scene. There is no setup. Like I'm sure you guys are too, that like, oh, it's a growth arc. It's only halfway. There's no setup. There's no foundation for anything whatsoever. If she grows, there is no foreshadowed direction in whatever character flaw she's going to grow or learn from or whatever. It's a dog shit written show.
Well, if you want a growth arc, come on. That's a growth arc right there. That's
Boom.
Genu, who I would call this the redemption immolation. It's the type of character who they've done bad shit in their past, and we all know as an audience that they're beyond redemption. So their redemption arc becomes a kind of self-immolation redemption to then help the other characters get to the ultimate narrative arc and conclusion. That's what they had in this beautiful thing right here. But in this, you can have a character arc a character who's overlooked, who's marginalized, who was trampled down upon, and then they reroute that to becoming an anti-hero because they have some passion within them that needs to be realized. That's at least the bare bones of a workable narrative. But this is totally morally empty. She got a full paid scholarship to MIT, a Tony Stark scholarship. She squandered all the resources, time, and facilities, and got herself expelled because she was doing illicit activity and helping people cheat, which reduces the opportunities for actual legitimate people trying to do the right thing. And that's her thing. And then she ends up within 2 minutes of being approached by a rankly criminal gang, a degenerate crew, decides that she's going to forfeit her integrity and abandon her moral compass within those 2 minutes. So the idea I think they have is that what might otherwise be seen as morally dodgy becomes a coded assertion of defiance, a self-definition. So surface level defiance as moral substance, which is ridiculous. And she's joining a crew, and this isn't Ocean's 11. This is like a bunch of people who go in and maim, punch, break the bones, hurl across the desks, just normal security tech dudes who are just there working the night shift. So it's horrific. It's terrible. I can't believe it. That's what I'm saying.
You know what it is? I don't mean to. It's always a good time to stick the boot into Thunderbolts, but Thunderbolts got a free pass on a lot of the morally toxic stuff that was in that movie. So, for example, everyone was talking about, oh, Yelena, her mental health arc is so inspiring. Oh my God, mental health. And I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, Yelena starts out as a murderer for hire. She goes into a science lab, murders a bunch of security guards, murders a scientist, and then blows them all up along with the cleaning lady. Like, she's worse than Ironheart. Ironheart doesn't. Yeah. Like, this girl is bad, but she doesn't like murder people. At least not in the 2 episodes I saw. Although, to be fair, in her introduction, she did bomb a police patrol. But it's bizarre. Like it's like Marvel fans are picking and choosing where they can and can't criticize Marvel's utterly disgusting, toxic, inverted morality that they adhere to. But honestly, man, Thunderbolts is every bit as immoral in the character of Yelena as this piece of shit is with what's her name, Ironheart. But I mean, this is definitely the worst show. Do you know what really annoys me though? I call it stage ebonics. Are you familiar with that? I like that. Yeah, stage ebonics. Are you familiar with stage Irish? Do you know what that is?
Stage Irish? No.
All right, you've seen Rings of Power. You know the trailer trash hobbits? Mm-hmm. They speak in a stage Irish accent. Their accent isn't real. No one in Ireland speaks like that. So, for example, I'm from the north, so I have a fairly typical northern accent. Conor McGregor is from Dublin. He has a fairly typical Dublin accent. The accents, Colin Farrell, he's from the west. He has a western accent, right? Those are the 3 main accents.
Oh, but what's the guy in Mobland? He was saying that he had a Kerry accent. What's a Kerry accent?
That would be west. Okay. So the accent you hear in, say, Rings of Power, it's a kind of weird hodgepodge of west and east. It doesn't really sound like anyone. That's a stage Irish accent. The ebonics in this, they make my ears bleed. because I've seen a lot of shows that do a fairly accurate representation of what Ebonics sounds like. The Wire is probably the best show for it. The most naturalistic depiction of how blacks from the ghetto, the hood, call it what you want, how they speak. It's very natural. This show is pure stage Ebonics. This is Ebonics written by middle-class people who have never been to the hood. It's just and spoken by actresses who have very nice, clean Middle American accents. And it makes my fucking ears bleed. You see when Ironheart is talking with her AI girl and they're having their sort of stage Ebonics conversation, it is just torture to listen to.
This is Riri's stepsister, Natalie, who is through some sort of brainwave program that's kind of underexplained, comes back to life as a kind of highly empathic, sassy, and autonomously reasoning and highly emotionally receptive identity projection, indistinguishable from the original person, who in one of the worst scenes I've ever seen, you see her, she's trapped in a kind of holding cell on Riri's laptop, and she's talking to herself in an empty room about how she needs to break free. And she's talking about it in this sassy kind of weird kind of way. I just felt so sorry for the show. It's horrific.
Yeah, it was really weird. And the stage Ebonics point is to the point because, and that's the thing I cannot stand about it, because this was clearly written by white people, like California white people. And the thing about Steven Kugler is he's from Oakland, I think. And he actually does have that very authentic, like you can hear him pulling that accent back when he gives interviews. And the Oakland accent's kind of very interesting because it's ghetto-ish, but it's also very heavily infused with that Latino cholo culture as well. Oakland's a weird city. Right. But the people that they hired, and I don't know where Dominique is from, the Ironheart, but it's not hard scrabble, her upbringing at all. I don't think so. And I'd be very shocked to learn if at least one of her parents was not an immigrant. Maybe Caribbean, maybe from West Africa. This is not a descendant of American slaves features. This is a more new arrival. So I think that she's probably from upper class, and she doesn't hit it. Her casting is a problem for me. Like I made a post about this crappily written show. The arc almost could work. It's like, look, we brought her on an arc and now she's a normal person with normal morality after being a scumbag, yay us. It could have worked if they had cast someone who we would be like, okay, well, we'll tolerate you as you go through your scumbag phase. I made the reference to Drumline with Nick Cannon many, many, many years ago, 2002, I think. And he was a little shit, but he was so charming and he was funny and we saw where he came from. And, we saw the mistakes he was making and you're being a scumbag, but it was okay because we knew where it was going. She's not charming enough to pull that off. She's just wooden and awful and unpleasant. And I hate the main Ironheart poster with her standing there, like staring down at you. I hate when they make women do that because they don't look tough. They don't look like they're a force to be reckoned with. They just look unpleasant. She looks like the DMV girl who's about to intentionally make your life terrible. It's like, I hate when they do that. And that's her problem. She's just not, she can't carry us through the unpleasantness to get to where she needs to be.
Well, first of all, Kristen, where do you get them nails? Did they on fleek? And the second point is, wanted to, I'll go past there to this. So this is the comic book origins. And it's really strange because it's a little in the panels. Riri stands up as a little girl and says that she wants to be a scientist. And then she goes on a strange monologue saying that, I know that you would assume that I want to be just a nurse or a teacher. And it's very strange because it's a pointed moment that seeks to racialize presumed bias, but it's also a kind of projected superiority. Like the teacher says nothing stereotypical. Riri invents the prejudice and then triumphs over it. I wrote down, opposition is presumed and her identity is permanent rebuttal. So that's what's established in these comics. It's very strange to look at. I don't quite understand it. But yeah, what was your favorite slug moment, Greg? Was it the typing or was it the toot toot?
The typing is fantastic.
Typing is awesome. I love the typing.
Slug is hitting 8 keys per finger at a time. It's just
mushing.
Yeah.
It's like a 7-year-old who's with a PlayStation for the first time and is just mushing buttons crazily, hoping that something will work.
No, what bugs me about the show is that, and I know a lot of people are like, well, she has to start somewhere and then she has to have an arc, right? And I get that. Like, you can't have, because if she was perfect at everything, we would be like, well, this doesn't make any sense. She has no challenges. The issue is that the arc is not going somewhere. Like people, I've seen a lot of comparisons to other heroes. Obviously, Tony Stark. People love to bring up Scott Lang, Ant-Man. People like to bring up what's the other one? Star-Lord, Peter Quill, right? The thing is, Riri right now is not a flawed hero because she's not attempting to do anything heroic in a flawed way. She's just a flawed person. Like, she's selfish and doing selfish things for selfish reasons. So what separates her apart from other types of heroes, and Kristen's right, like, first of all, she's so just petty and mean. You don't really want to see her improve. Like, the likability, the charisma, that is a part of the character. And that's a subjective metric, but you have to want to see the character go somewhere. So Paul Rudd is just super likable, and you're like, I want to see you. I want the best for you, Paul, and I want to know how you stay young. And this one, she's not attempting to do a heroic thing. So Kristen's right. Like, if she learns, oh my God, working with these criminals and trying to make money illegally was wrong, I should no longer do that. Yes, that is a growth arc, but that's not really the same growth arc that none of these other characters are doing that. They're attempting to do something greater. And oftentimes we don't see it. And I think that's a big thing too. Like, there is a scene in this show. I think it's the absolute worst. It's, in my opinion, it tops everything else she's done. It is the scene on the train when she nabs a Cubs flag off of a sleeping Cubs fan.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think that's so much worse than stealing or leaving the guy to die. It's the worst thing that she does, because what it says about this character is, I see, I want, I take. I just, doesn't matter where I am. Doesn't matter if I need it. Doesn't matter what the reason is. I wanted it. So I grab it. That's toddler behavior, literal toddler behavior. And I want it. So it's mine now. And this growth arc is just ascending to the baseline standard societal norm that all of us live by every day, where we don't lie, cheat, and steal on a regular basis. There is no greater cause. Not that she's said anyway. And after She-Hulk, I have no doubt that they'll try to do like a last minute, she really had a good motivation. Haha, we got you. We trolled you, chuds. You jumped the gun too fast. And so we wrote a show where the hero's motivation is not given to us until the 11th hour, which is amazing television writing. There's no foundation where you see where she's going to go. Like, it's obvious Tony Stark is a narcissist. And then within the first 15 minutes, he is knocked down several pegs, sees the error in his thinking, is told by Yinsen, you're a man who has everything, but you have nothing. He sees the truth of that. Yinsen sacrifices himself, says, don't waste your life. 30 minutes into the show, he's escaping and saying, I'm no longer going to make weapons anymore. In less than the time of one Ironheart episode, he's gone through this entire introduction and arc and is on the way to doing heroic shit. So I don't buy this, like, well, she has to start somewhere. Nah, it's not going to happen.
IGN spoiled this already because they got all 6 episodes and they said that she is, and IGN like sucks Marvel's dick. So they gave it a 5 out of 10 and said that the ending, morally, she's set back to episode 1 again. So she actually doesn't learn anything. There's nothing to learn. And even IGN says this. So I'll be interested to see tonight if that actually happens.
But it keeps flipping around. Like, they start off with, she says that, I want to do it because the suit could work for first responders and it could have positive societal outcomes. And then 5 minutes later, she says, I just want to do it because I can, or just because it's there. And then she switches again and says that she didn't really have any, she just wants to be recognized and this kind of thing. So whatever her foundational moral purpose is, it just keeps undermining itself and sort of collapsing. It's really brittle. So there's just nothing to grab onto.
It's not at all superhero. Like, the suit is just an expression of her ego. That's a villain. That's a villain arc. A villain does that. So a villain will, like Green Goblin. Why is the suit green and evil looking? Because it's a physical manifestation of his ego, his desire for power. And that's what the suit is here. It's just, I want to be recognized. I want to create something iconic. I. Like, look at Spider-Man. why does Spider-Man starts out, in the Sam Raimi movie with that ridiculous wee geek costume that he brings into the wrestling ring, and he thinks it looks awesome, right? But he eventually fixes his suit, not to show off, not as an expression of his ego or because he wants to be recognized. In fact, the complete opposite. He wants to stay anonymous. He does it for utility, practicality, and to inspire people, to make them rally against the criminals that are destroying his city. He wants to be this symbol of resistance against crime. Same with Batman. Why is Batman's suit so scary looking? Because he wants it to be a symbol that terrifies criminals and that people will rally around. This is the total opposite of that. The complete polar opposite of that. I want to be recognized. I want you to see me. We even have that scene in the show, I see you. It's all about me. It's all about the ego, the self-actualization of the self. It's pure woke morality.
Yeah. And she says at one point, I could build 1,000 other things and no one would care. No one would pay attention. That's so divorced from reality.
But that's the thing. Why do you care so much about what people think? If you could go to, some poor village in I don't know, Venezuela and build a system of clean water filters for them, what the fuck do you care if anybody recognizes you for that? You've saved a lot of lives. You've done something that is really great with your life. But that's not her thinking. She must be recognized and she must be given all the acclaim. Maybe Cynic, you've seen all the. I remember you telling me you've seen all the Marvel shows. Is this the worst that you've seen? How the fuck does anyone watch all the Marvel shows? That's an achievement.
I do it for for review purposes, but this is on its way. I won't give it that credit until I see the final 3 episodes tonight or in like an hour. But it's right up there with She-Hulk. I think it's very of its time. It feels like it was written in a specific era. When I was watching it, I was like, oh, this feels like if you gave the writers of She-Hulk purpose and said, here, try and take something seriously, and you get this. And it turns out that the writers of She-Hulk wrote some of the episodes of this show, so that made a lot of sense, actually.
I did like the scene where Riri's mum, who initially and quite understandably is taken aback by what seems like an astral projection of a dead, a slain teenage girl, and within 2 minutes is comfortably ensconced on the couch with this AI projection and just having a conversation with her. I thought that was kind of weird.
I did have a brief moment of hope because I knew Mephisto was going to be in the show. I'm like, oh, please let this. She thinks it's an AI, but actually, no, it's her actual spirit. And this is like, I was hoping for like that supernatural element, so something interesting would happen. But no, it's just an AI that Riri doesn't even know how she made. So
yeah, my stupid moment of hope was we meet Joe, and I thought it was going to be like Gus Fring, where he's introduced to us as like a very meek and mild and benign figure. Like Gus Fring works at the fast food restaurant. Yeah. And I thought, no, it's going to be a clever feint because then that mask is going to drop and we're going to see someone more insidious and shrewd and clever who's got this facade. No, it was just a stupid, lame dude.
It's a bitch.
You're thinking of like good writing, so that's not going to be that.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how Sacha Baron Cohen does, and I've heard that he plays it straight. And Chris Gore said he's like real serious and he does a great job. But I would love it if they would release like back behind the scenes stuff where he's just doing Borat shit and in as Mephisto, like that would be really, this guy has my hood. He is paid in my asshole. Like it would just be, I want to see that. I release the Borat cut.
Yeah.
Ironheart.
Well, so not a good show. It didn't catch me in the feels, and I don't mean that completely colloquially, not at all pejoratively. So that's my conclusion about this show. Okay, let's move on from this toxic piece of garbage.
You want to do predictions? Where do you think it's going to go? Those of you
where's it
going to
go?
Yeah, where is her arc going?
I only watched the first 2 episodes. I was so fucking bored that I couldn't watch the third one.
I've got this horrible new habit where I watch an episode of something on 1.5 speed just to get through it.
Disney Plus doesn't fucking have that. They have it on Netflix, but that is the worst thing about Disney Plus. It doesn't have 1.5 speed.
Yeah, they do. That's the only way I was able to get through Maestro.
So can you imagine Riri Williams, the actress, when she's wrestling with a moral conundrum and her face is twitching and she's frowning? Imagine that at like accelerated speed. It's weird to look at.
By the way, Greg, before I forget, remember I was arguing with you about one of those Oscar movies about like black boys getting beat up in some prison in the 60s. And you said,
Nickel
oh, no,
Boys.
it was good. What was it called?
Nickel Boys.
Nickel
Oh,
Boys.
that's
And you watched it on double fucking speed. If it was good, you wouldn't have watched it on double speed.
Yeah.
It was good at 2x, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I watched it in 1x, and believe me, it was not good.
All right. Has anyone seen this new band?
I've
this
heard
band
about
on-
them.
Yeah, Velvet Sunset, the Velvet Sunset. They've got 500,000 followers on Spotify, and I don't think it would take you 2 seconds to realize that it's a band that doesn't exist. It's AI generated, and their music is AI generated. So I can't wait to
Have you
catch their
heard their
live
music,
show.
Echo?
Yeah, I've heard one of their songs. I'll give it credit for being, like a brilliant pastiche. It's well produced and everything, if that's what you call it. But it doesn't exist. It's just music generated from zeros and ones. And they got 500,000 followers.
By the way, when Echo says brilliant pastiche, he doesn't mean the song is brilliant. The song is the most generic, dull rubbish you're ever likely to hear. But it's a very good imitation of sort of 70s country rock. Sounds like to me.
Impala mixed in there kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah,
But, they seem to be missing a bass player, and they've got some like lobster finger stuff going on there, and there's got like 5 tuner machine head things on one of the guitars. So yeah, it doesn't exist.
To be honest, I wasn't excited about this. It just looks like generic AI slop, and the music is generic AI slop. I've still never heard, and I'm open-minded about this. I'm prepared to hear a piece of music from AI that I genuinely think is good, but I never have. It's always just a shitty pastiche of an old genre. It's almost always rubbish. No, it's always rubbish. It's always just shit. And the melodies are so bad. The melodies just follow the chords in a very predictable, placid way. It's rubbish. It's just pure shite.
But I'd love to hear your opinion. There's one song that's an Oasis AI pastiche called Peacock Pride. And I'd be keen for you to look it up, because I can't play. I don't think I'll play it here, but I thought this is actually kind of good. So make a little mental note to look up that, and I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Pride?
Yeah. I thought the chorus was really good. So yeah. So Cynic, what do you think? Like, we're pretty much at the point now where we are at the point where they can create from zeros and ones a manufactured band that doesn't exist, with made up songs that are generated by an algorithm. They can get 500,000 followers. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's a different world than it was just a couple of years ago. It's the first thought that pops into my head is just, wow, this isn't the only genre that's being infected by this. I mean, you can start like a YouTube channel that's completely AI generated and just generate millions of views.
Oh, Christian, you posted some things where it's online romance novels, and it's like showing me where you actually see the ChatGPT prompts accidentally got included in some of them.
Oh yeah,
like, this bit is really
and
this bit is really sizzling. Let's see if we can add this some stuff like the ChatGPT.
Christine, what's a romance channel? First of all,
a romance channel.
That's what Echo said. Online romance channel.
A romance novel, I think he meant.
He said channel. Right. I thought it was like a YouTube video.
Yeah. So yeah, those are hilarious. And those are big time indie authors as well. Just accidentally let them slip with those bits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they were.
Crazy stuff. Yeah. Do you think is that the death knell for them? Because once you've done it once, then you can't trust anything they've written.
Right. It's especially a death knell for one of them, and I can't remember the author's name, but the prompt was specifically to mimic another author's style. That made everybody's head explode. I don't think that will be forgiven. I really don't.
Yeah. I would call it, could you say it's aesthetic CGI? Is that too cute? I just made that up on the cuff. I like that. Aesthetic CGI. I'm going to use that from now on.
Yeah.
All right. Disparate thoughts? Too cute?
Aesthetic CGI in reference to this image?
No, and in reference to people using ChatGPT to write their novel or to augment their novels.
Plagiarism?
Okay. I like my term. No one's going with my term. All right. Well, the year of the slim volume. So, Kristen, you did an interesting post on this, and it really got me thinking. does the culture need to shift down a gear? Does the publishing industry need to shift down a gear and realize that people are time-starved, that people have grown up with a super low attention span? Do we need to get rid of the baggy novel? And does the publishing industry need to reconfigure and accept that slimming down volumes whilst retaining quality and emotional resonance might be the way that the publishing industry has to go? And you also foregrounded this by saying that, paradoxically, the publishing industry, they wanted to deliberately beef up the books. So they had, what was the term you used, was good hand feel.
Yeah.
So the book is supposed to feel good in the hand with its weight and bulk. That's supposed to be pleasant. So there was almost like a strange, because I've always felt that a reader that this sort of established safe zone of like 80 to 100,000 words has always seemed a little bit too big for me. That's quite large.
For many genres it is, and the fantasy authors kind of flip their shit on me. It's like, I like my thick books. It's like, calm down. Okay, epic fantasy is a very small portion of total fiction published every year. And there's a lot of, especially when we're talking about thriller, when we're talking about contemporary, or especially, comedic works, and they're just adding in this filler. Now, I did get some context from a follower of mine, and he worked in trad pub from the 80s and the 90s. And he said that a lot of it was paper and the cost of that, and that if it was too skinny, it was more expensive than, if it was just a normal weight. It was almost as expensive to print a very skinny book as it was to print a very thick one. And I'm not sure how that works, but he said it was a complicated mathematic thing. But it was never about what the reader wanted. It was always about, what our costs, because it was taken for granted that they would be buying anyway. But now that's not the case. And so now you've got buyers who, if they're buying physical books, they're looking at this. Okay, I don't know who this author is. All right, the cover looks nice. The blurb looks nice, but this is a door stopper. Am I going to read this? I don't know. There's so much on Netflix, and they put it back. So they're going to read Stephen King no matter how big it is. But in terms of new authors, especially if we're talking about those non-epic fantasy books, it's a big ask for them to get this $45 hardback chonker that's going to take them 6 months to get through versus something a little slimmer.
If the author's name is bigger and on top, and the title of the story is smaller at the bottom, then it can be larger in scale because people are going to invest in that because it's a recognized name. And if it's George R.R. Martin, bless him, then they want that. That's part of the appeal, is this long, dense, huge, sprawling narrative. So that's fine. But if we're talking about mainstream New York Times list fiction, or what do they call it? Book club fiction, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, maybe they need to bring it back down. So I did a quick little scan of my bookshelves, and I tried to look for examples of quite slim volumes that nonetheless could establish that long-term, almost, it's kind of like an anguish when you get towards the end of a book that you've been invested in, and you've been in that world for a long time. And part of the appeal is that bittersweet feeling of leaving it after you've been involved in it. So some examples I came up with were, that's not the one, The Cement Garden by Ian McEwan. I remember reading this when I was young. It's about 120 pages about some kids, and their solo mother dies, and so they bury her under the cement in the garden, and they try to live on and just establish their own life separate from society. And with a short economy, it manages to create this strange pathos, this strange atmosphere. So you feel that you've been immersed in it for a very long time. In a Strange Room by Damon Galgut, one of the most penetratingly powerful explorations of loneliness and disconnectedness I've ever read. Very slim volume, maybe 180 pages, but emotionally devastating, and it seems to go on longer than you imagine it to. And it leaves you with extraordinary emotional resonances that stick with you for a long time. John Banville's The Sea, maybe 180 pages, 2005 Booker winner. And again, it lingers in the imagination for an incredibly long time afterwards, leaving its traces on you, as literary fiction does. Moon Tiger by Penelope Lively, very slim volume, another big prize winner, covering the life of essentially this extraordinarily complicated woman. And again, it encompasses so much of the 20th century, its span and its scope, but it does it with economy And again, it just leaves those emotional traces. And Pat Barker with The Ghost Road from World War One, maybe 50,000 words, but it has a massive scope and scale and its own sort of emotional architecture that it establishes very quickly, and it stays with you. Also, one of the greatest explorations of masculinity I've ever seen, and it's by Pat Barker, who is a woman as an author. So it was a big, huge evolution for me when I read it in my early 20s. So those are some examples that I came up with. Can anyone else think of some books that were kind of like definitive or singular text for them that are quite short or brief, that were quite important stories for them?
Yeah, An Artist of the Floating World by Kazuo Ishiguro is a brilliant novel. It's actually his debut novel, and it's still one of his best. And it's interesting in the fact that I read that, I think, when I was in uni. So I might still have been a teenager when I read that. And it's about an old man after Japan has been defeated in World War II. And it was very interesting to me because this guy was a pro-imperial regime artist. He created propaganda posters for the regime. And it was interesting that I was getting a story from the perspective of, the loser, the stereotypical bad guy, the one who's always the bad guy in the movies. Like, you never get anything from the perspective of the losers, the heroes, the winners write the victors write history. But so it was interesting from that perspective. But even more than that, I was amazed by how emotionally connected I was to the story of an old man, a man struggling with the early part of old age, because it's very rarely something we see in mass media or even in popular novels. That stage of life, like the last stage of life, your old age, is very rarely examined in popular media, whether it's literature or movies or TV. And so to have a book which does it so well and which deals with those emotional struggles as brilliantly as that book does, that was really something for me, because I'd never read anything like it. So, I mean, I would recommend that to anyone who just wants to pick up a short novel and read it. And it's also beautifully evocative. It's brilliantly written. And it does go back to parts of his youth when he's becoming an artist and he's developing his own style. And it examines the notions of individuality versus conformity. And it has this sort of brilliant dramatic irony in that he is raised in a kind of to paint samurai pictures, but he rejects that in favor of the modern imperial Japan. But in fact, he's becoming more of a conformist because he's entering this propagandistic regime. It's a brilliant book, and it's very short. It's very economical.
Well, Ishiguro just came out with Clara and the Sun, which is also extremely short. It's also quite evocative. Kristen, I have a thing. I think what would I call it? Metric bar fatigue. That's when you're reading a book online and you look down at the bar to see how much you've gotten through. You think, oh, fuck, look at all the space in the bar that's left to go. It's kind of like, it feels like a drag. So is this like actually practicable, Kristen? Like, it seems good in theory, but do you think the industry could shift like this?
I think they could, but it wouldn't be a broad shift. I think it would be a matter of looking at, okay, what exactly is this book and who is the audience? For instance, there's a lot of genres where it's digital first. It will always be the readers of this particular type of book will be your Kindle readers, or the ones who read on their phones like psychos. And for those instances, yes, absolutely. Just economy, you're really going for that attention and making sure those stories are tight. But when we're talking about things like epic fantasy, for instance, or even, the romantasy schlock, having that pretty little shelf porn with the sprayed edges, that's part of the appeal. So there's no motivation to be economical in prose there. Just, oh yes, put all the fillers. Yes, let's have a phase subplot that doesn't belong there. It'll be great. So I think it would have to be more on a case by case. They would have certain imprints of the big five. They would have the directive, economy of scale versus, filler up. So I don't think it'll be broad scale shortening. I think it'll be more tactical.
Because you can have movements like there used to be the Victorian baggy novel, and then the aesthetic movement came along, the romanticism movement, where they got more economical and a bit more stylish, without losing the panache and the depth of quality. So it can happen. And in film, if the pace and speed of film has gone up since, say, the 60s or 70s, where things could actually be quite languid and stretched out and drawn out. And to us now, to a modern audience, those things can seem very lethargic and very baggy. And so film has also sped up in some negative ways, but also in some positive ways that are more receptive, to how we actually want to absorb stuff. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea.
I think it's possible that even in certain like I read a lot of fantasy. I read mostly fiction, and I like fantasy. And typically, it's like epic type stuff. Like I just got done reading the first Sun Eater book, really good. Actually, I'm really glad somebody recommended that. The Malazan series is huge. But even like Brandon Sanderson's most recent Stormlight book, the big complaint was that it was too long, which I never thought Sanderson fans would ever say. But that was kind of like the common thing was, hey, man, maybe you need to edit this down a little bit and not get carried away with yourself. So even in that genre, people, I think, are getting a little tired of these tomes that like they can't be. He cannot print some of his books in one because it won't in hardbacks. They won't do it. So I think that there's a possibility that people don't want it. It just, even in that genre. And I'm glad to see some of the shorter ones. Like when I don't read fiction, I like to dabble in philosophy, and that can get stupid too. Like philosophers think they have to write a big old book to make it seem like it's legit. Like David Hume just couldn't write a small amount. It was stupid. But a guy that I really like a lot, Byung-Chul Han, they're pamphlets, basically. They're tiny. And I think part of the problem is that you, as a reader, you think, well, I'm not getting a lot of value because I'm spending, even if it's $5-6, it's a tiny little book. But if I spend $10 or $15, I get more book. So there's like a psychological problem there. But then as I'm reading that one in that genre specifically, I'm like, yeah, I don't need you to be wordy to impress me. Get to your fucking point. And Han does. And I really appreciate that.
A great example of that is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, that's a book. It takes about 4 or 5 hours to read. And you could open that book on any page and just sit and think about one of the paragraphs for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that is what a philosophy book should do. It shouldn't be fucking, Proust, where he's just going on and on and on for, endless hours, endless pages, debating himself. It should be, succinct and clear and something that you have to stop and think about and understand. That's a really well-written bit of philosophy. Although bear in mind, Meditations isn't all Marcus Aurelius. He gets all the credit for it, but it's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of Greek philosophy that he read and he put it into this little book. But he didn't come up with all that himself. Like you would have to be a genius of philosophy to come up with all that yourself. But it's very well written and it's very concise.
It is, yeah. Epictetus is the same way in that same subject matter. I love that. You just got a nice little chunk and you're like, cool, I can think about just that 6 sentences and what it means. And that is very, very nice. Well,
there aren't many streams on YouTube. We can go from drag queen names to treatises of Marcus Aurelius. So I think we're kind of special. I just remember one review of one of my favorite novelists, Alan Hollinghurst, where it says the writing is both super refined and super succinct. And that's always been the mantra that I try to follow in my writing. So yeah, Kristen, I think you might be onto something. I hope that it would pan out because I think it's quite a good idea. Anything that gets people reading and buying books.
Yeah. And filler is just horrible. I'm a thriller and mystery and procedural reader primarily, so it sticks out like a sore thumb. It's like, oh, I see where you added that. I hate you. Like it's very upsetting.
Yeah.
I thought she said dicks for a minute.
I did too.
I don't know what you were
Yeah. But everything has basically just has dicks out in all genres now. It seems like it's kind of sad. Anyway, especially in romantasy. Okay. All right. One of my favorite videos on YouTube, it's Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve at Glastonbury in 2008. And everyone is so wrapped up in it in the audience, the emotional authenticity of the singer. And it's this eruptive moment of solidarity and exquisite musicianship and an irresistible hook. And it's just beautiful and it builds on itself. And then this guy comes up and he's chanting death, death to the IDF over the stupidest, lamest, grinding, stupid riff you could possibly play on a guitar. Just F to G note, pause, And they just, I hear you want your country back. Well, fuck you. You can't have that. Fuck off. And then
so he wants to be Rage Against the Machine so fucking desperately.
Much. Yeah. And then the BBC. So first of all, the flaky people at Glastonbury decided to put this activist nobody Z talent hack on stage, and then second, the BBC, they're watching this going underway with like incitement to violence on the stage, which they're broadcasting live, and they're like, oh, well, let's just leave this running on live television. And then he posts, while Zionists are crying on socials, I've just had late night vegan ice cream, which is probably the most 2025 post I've ever seen. So, God, did you ever go to Glastonbury, Despot?
No, I only ever went to music festivals in Ireland. I never had the money to go over to England to those big festivals. They're very expensive. I really didn't, man. Like those big English festivals, they're really expensive. They're very middle class. No, I couldn't touch that shit. I just went to local festivals, which are far better anyway, because who wants to be around a bunch of fucking pommy twats and their shitty, middle class diversity pets?
Yeah, once festivals started to bring in FPOS machines, kind of lost the spirit there a little bit. But yeah, you should check out this riff, Cynic. You're a guitarist, because you hear it and within 5 seconds, just pick up your guitar and go, oh, yeah, one of those. Just like that. Fucking hell. In his stupid white shorts and his stupid screeching into the microphone.
I did see the clip, but the riff was so I don't remember any of it. So
yeah. Incitement to hate. But you get people in the audience screeching along. So I don't know. Kind of sad, kind of crazy. Like I say, I worry about the UK these days.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how bad the UK gets. It always seems to find new depths to sink to. And it's just, it doesn't really surprise me that much. It's Glastonbury, which is, it's become essentially just a political activist festival, really, over the past few years. You can even tell by what flags they're flying what the issue du jour is. So if you were to go back to, a couple of years, you would see them flying trans flags. And if you go back a year before that, they're flying the Ukraine flag. So if you want to know what the sort of leftist cause du jour is, just look at the flags at Glastonbury. This year, it was all Palestinian flags. And I did have a theory that following, I'd like to get anyone who wants to jump in can just give their opinion, that following the collapse of the trans movement, a lot of the energy on the left that went into that was immediately transferred over to Palestine, which is why it's become such a big thing on American university campuses. The American people themselves do not give a fuck, no matter how loud the activists scream. In England, it's a bit harder to get them to shut up, and it has a little bit more, I suppose, broad appeal because of the large Muslim population in England. But it's penetrating the mainstream music festivals, and it's gotten to the point now where you've got crowds of people who are afraid not to chant along like sheep when they're encouraged to do death chants at a music festival.
Well, the Ireland UK apparently has a huge. Ireland have a huge pro-Palestinian thing because I feel a cultural kind of allegiance and affinity.
There's a lot of pro-Palestine support in Ireland because there's this idea of an affinity with a fellow colonized people that was pushed very hard. But we'll not get into the sort of Marxist politics of Sinn Féin. I think we'll bore the shit out of our listeners if we do.
Fair enough. One thing about the pro-Palestinian band Kneecap, because Rod Stewart was also playing as like the legacy act, and the front man of Kneecap did say that this guy's older than Israel. I thought that was actually a pretty funny joke.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, hokey doke. Well, I guess we'll just end up with a bit of this then.
Thank you.
On a lighter note, what do you all think? Because I haven't seen this. It just seems like a big bag of tropes, but it also looks like it could be fun.
I haven't seen it, but I enjoy Brad Pitt, and the pose is working for me. So thank you.
It's a good pose.
Greg or maybe Cynic, have you seen this?
I have not
seen it first. Oh, no, good.
Greg?
No, you movie. So you think it first?
I have not seen this yet. No, sir.
Oh, I've only seen the first half. But I can't wait to finish it. Like I thought I was gonna be bored of tears, and I'm shocked at how a racing movie with like racing tech stuff that I don't understand is keeping me engaged. It's very impressive, actually.
No, this is a good movie. I saw this in 4D, so I had a great time. It's a good movie to see in 4D or IMAX if you can. And yeah, it's a really good. It is generic. It is formulaic. It does have the tropes, you know, the sort of the wizened older guy and the cocksure young guy. It's got that kind of tropey character dynamic going on, but at the same time, it's not trying to be particularly original or groundbreaking. It's just sticking to you know, tropes that work that audiences want to see. It's a crowd pleaser. It knows it's a crowd pleaser. That's what it's going for. It sticks to formula and it does it really well. It's a good movie. It's all, you know, quite predictable. You can probably predict how it's going to end by the midpoint, but it's a good movie and I had a great time with it. And I'll never watch it again, but it was a really fun popcorn flick. And I would recommend seeing this over, you know, Jurassic Park, you know, what had fucking slop word, whatever that piece of shit is called.
Mega Geek has a theory, not sure if you heard this, Cynic, that he thinks that IMAX is just kind of bullshit, that it's not anything special, that it's just a bigger screen.
Yeah. I don't agree with that at all. I still prefer the IMAX experience over any kind of movie experience. It's not just the screen, the sound quality is unparalleled. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Greg, what did you think of the first half that you saw?
Like I said, it grabbed me, and I never lost interest, and I thought same thing. It's going to be tropey. I get it. Like, I already know where this is going. I know what the drama is going to be, and I still was very, very interested. I think Brad Pitt still brings it. Javier Bardem shows up to work all the time. I don't know that the other kid's name, but he does a really good job, even though in the first half he doesn't have a lot of a part, and he's very he's pretty two-dimensional. Just, you know, I'm young and cocky and angry and you can't tell me what to do, old man. But you know, he's even starting to soften up. And yeah, I thought I was gonna be bored, and I was not. And I think this sounds like an IMAX movie for sure. Like, this is a theater experience. If there is anything else this summer, this is the one.
Yeah, and the action scenes are excellent. Like, the racing scenes, really good. And I'm not a racing fan at all. I don't care about F1, but this was really entertaining to watch. The sound as well, so well done. A lot of modern sound mixing is shit. The sound in this was great. You really feel it, and it's just it's a good time, really good time.
Did they miss a trick where they could have lent more into Top Gun Maverick and the young upstart guy? You know, his father was involved with Brad Pitt's character back in the 90s, and he tried to push too fast around that curve, and he blames him for it, and then they have to reconcile there. Do you think they could put that in?
No, they do have one thing they do have over Top Gun Maverick is they have a villain in this one. I'm not going to spoil anything because go watch it. It's a good time. You know, bring the girlfriend to the family or whatever, get some popcorn and just enjoy it. But it has a villain in it, and it's the kind of movie where it doesn't necessarily need to have a villain. They could just do the normal racing story, but it does add a lot of dynamic to the final act. So that was a really nice touch, I felt. Greg, have you gotten to the villain introduction yet?
I haven't, so I don't even know. Okay. Yeah, I haven't gotten to that part yet.
It's very much a third act thing, but it works really well. It just brings the third act up a notch to the next level. It's really good.
Is it like the other pod racer in The Force Awakens who like sticks a screwdriver into Anakin's?
No, I can't say. I can't say. I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay, fine.
Normally racing, I think, is boring, like in real life and in movies, and they edited this really well to keep even the race scenes interesting, and you're interested to see what happens, how's it going to end up, that sort of thing. So it is very well put together.
The only thing that's wrong with it is that it was just too expensive. 250 million is simply too expensive for a non-IP movie. You're not going to make your money back. Like, it's astoundingly unlikely. If it's non-IP and if it's a one-off or you want to build a new IP, 250 is just way too expensive. Like, the ceiling should be about 200, and even that's pushing it.
Yeah. Let's go around the horn. What's your favorite Brad Pitt performance? I would say Moneyball is my favorite Brad Pitt performance. So that just got his aesthetic and his attitude really nicely. What do you think, Greg?
Oh, God, there's so many good ones. I'm going to go with Snatch, though.
Good one. Inglorious Bastards is mine for sure.
Ooh,
Yeah, Fight Club for me.
Legends of the Fall.
Wow, everyone's got different takes on Brad here.
Nice.
Wow, you know he's a great actor when you can ask that question and you get to 5 people and you get 5 different responses.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was good. Ejector Curtain, good point.
In wildly different genres too.
Yeah.
And he was surprisingly funny. He wasn't the star, but he had a nice little role in The Lost City, which was the Sandra Bullock kind of romancing the stone comedy. He was so funny.
He's even got his own trash, like World War Z. Like all great actors have like just their god awful movie that is hilarious to laugh about. And his was World War Z. I watched that movie recently, and fuck me, it is shockingly bad.
I need to rewatch that. Yeah,
it's great, man. It's such a good time. Like I watched it with my wife. It's good to watch it with someone because you can kind of talk with them and just laugh at it.
Yeah.
My God, it's bad.
Yeah, I remember talking to you about the scene. I mentioned it before, where they had so many reshoots and they ran out of money. They had to get sponsorship from Pepsi, and there's just that one scene in the third act where the thing grinds to a total stop, and he just sits next to a dispenser machine and just cracks open a Coke and drinks it. It's hilarious. It's better than Madam Web.
Oh, yeah. It's good stuff, man.
Oh,
No, nothing's better than
Monkeys. That's a throwback there.
Yeah. Man, that'd be a weird 90s throwback to go revisit that. Strange stuff. All right. We quickly want to touch on get everyone's opinions on 28 Years Later. Because I thought this was kind of like it was a mess, basically. I thought it was kind of stupid. That's my take. Greg, what did you think of 28 Years Later?
I haven't seen this one yet.
Okay.
I did not like this movie at all.
Yeah.
Nope.
Why not?
I appreciate what they were trying to do, but splitting it in half, the fact that the second half of the movie means half of the movie I didn't like at all.
Yeah, I agree.
So I hated what they did with the let me just say, like, I'm not a huge fan of this genre in particular, like the zombie genre. I know they're not zombies or whatever, they're infected, but same thing. Because after you get past the initial apocalypse phase, it just has to get ridiculous. Like Walking Dead got really ridiculous. And this is too now with like essentially the stand-ins for zombies getting pregnant and that entire scene where we're having a girl boss moment where they're grabbing their hands. It's just like, you got it, girl. Like, this is just like so ridiculous. And a giant like 28-inch prosthetic cock swinging around is also jarring. And everyone's retarded, and like they had 3 chances to kill the alpha and they just don't because they need him for the next movie. And then the ending was such a tonally jarring shift. My friend and I just looked at each other and we both like in the theater because we can't talk.
It was
just
strange.
Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Movie sucked.
Yeah, well, I got to the point where there's a scene where there's a gigantic alpha zombie dude with his dong hanging out who's had a morphine little tracer thing shoved into him, and he's standing there snoring. And I think once you're at that point, you can't have post-apocalyptic gravitas and have a huge alpha with his dong hanging out who's snoring in a field. You can't have both of those at the same time.
Well, in response to that, I would say you can never have too much 28-inch cock. This movie...
Right, clip that. That's going to become a meme. I want that as a clip.
You're here.
I watched it twice because it's appearing in my next video alongside 14 other movies.
Just couldn't get enough of that dong.
This one, you can never get too much of that. And this thing was a fucking headache to review because
I'm sure
parts of it are brilliant, but parts of it are so bad. And it's a schizophrenic movie. It's all over the place. It's making some truly bizarre decisions. And I like it for a lot of the reasons that Movie Cynic hates it. I like that it's so bizarre and odd and not at all what you would expect from the zombie genre. It's very much doing its own thing. It's got its own identity in a very bizarre and unique way. There are aspects of it that are just plainly brilliant. For example, I thought the first act was great. The music is fantastic. So instead of doing that sort of zombie pastiche, high BPM, bring back the theme from the first movie, but make it fucking epic with an orchestra. I hate that. That's one of the worst. Instead of that, they hired a band called Young Fathers and they wrote the score for the whole thing. And the score is great. There's some brilliant music in this. The opening scene is excellent. I thought. I know it's very short, but it really gets to the thematic heart of it. I enjoyed the ending because it couples with the start of the movie. It's Alex Garland and his bizarre symbolism, but the ending couples with the Teletubbies at the start. So how it works is the infected enter the room full of kids, and they attack the kids, and the blood spatters on the screen all over the Teletubbies. And then at the end, the Teletubbies are now the monsters, and they come in and they destroy the infected, and the kid, Spike, is infected, but not with the rage virus, but with the cult mindset from Jimmy's cult. So that's kind of Alex Garland's little rhyming couplet at the start and end of the movie, which I quite liked. And I liked how bizarre and odd and out of place it was, because every movie has a perfect cadence ending. Why can't we just have a nice big tonal dissonance at the end of one for a change? So I liked it for those reasons. I hated the Swedes. That was pure fucking contrivance. It's just like, we need action. We need a zombie ripping somebody's head off. Fuck it. Here's a bunch of Swedes. Here's the script. Boom. That was so contrived. That was bad, man. But,
well, the weirdest thing was poor little Spike. Like, he arrives at this place with this weird Dr. Moreau type doctor guy. They had to speed it along because they had the baby there, so they couldn't stop narratively to develop things. Like, he learns of this cancer diagnosis of his mother, and you would think there would be maybe 2 or 3 days where, there's some really intimate, tender moments, and there's some sharing of world wisdom, and she's lapsing away, and then they understand, and the guy's brooding in the background because he knows what has to happen. But no, like, within the space of a couple of hours, tracer dart, and then he wakes up again and he's holding his mother's bleached skull. It's so rushed and strange.
Yeah, there's some, like, even, and this is from someone who liked the movie, there's some of this that's just really sloppy writing. So one example is Jamie, Spike's father, does not go after him. And
I hated
the
that.
excuse that the cope for this is that, oh, well, it's forbidden for members of the community to go after him. Fuck that. Jamie wouldn't give a shit. You just leave, right?
Yeah.
So that's the cope, but it doesn't work. And there was such a simple fix. When the Alpha is chasing them across the causeway, Jamie takes an arrow to the leg. There you go. Now you can't go after Spike. Very simple little fix, but it would have improved the movie. There's other things, like, why is the pregnant woman in a fucking subway car? What should have happened is Dr. Moreau, or whatever the fuck his name is, Ralph Fiennes just captures her. So he tranks her, he captures her and brings her back to his little skull temple because he thinks the baby might not be infected. And he's a doctor, and he still took his Hippocratic oath, and he wants to save this baby if he can. And that would have made far more sense than, oh, look, an infected woman giving birth. That's just a control. So there's very simple ways that this movie could have been written better. The script feels sloppy and rushed to me. Yeah.
They could have called it 28 centimeters later, or 28 years later as a reference to Aaron Taylor Johnson's marriage. But that's another thing. Vex knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, so that's basically all the things I wanted to cover. So I guess we'll just zip through some super chats if you're all up for that. Let's see what we got, because they're racking up. I don't know how many of these are for you, Greg, but we'll find out. M8566, patron saint of our channel, gifted 5 Echo Chamberlain memberships.
Coming through.
Yeah, but that's not all, Greg. You think that's enough firepower from M8566? No, because he also gifted 5 Greg Owen memberships. So it's like it's a carnival out there.
Membership machine gun.
Mm-hmm. It's like those shirt guns they've got at sport events in America, just firing them all out. Thanks, M8566. We see you. Paul Connolly for 10 euros. Hail Echo and panel. Question for Echo and Despot. Having seen both shows, you have to choose between watching Ironheart and Robin Hood. Which woke poison show do you pick, and why? So you have to choose between watching them. So I guess that can be for any reason. I would say Robin Hood because I think it's funnier. So I'd have more.
Yeah,
fun
Robin
time.
Hood is funnier. I don't know if it doesn't take itself too seriously. I guess not. I mean, they're running around in fucking neon masks while robbing people, at night. So
It's fine.
Yeah, Robin Hood
It's
I would go
stupid.
with because it does have that. It's so stupid, it's kind of funny. Whereas Ironheart kind of takes itself seriously in a sense, and it's trying to teach moral lessons, and it's just shocking. Also, Robin Hood's music is fucking stellar.
I was
man.
just about to say, yeah.
some of
I
the
still remember that
worst
tune
shit
theme.
I've ever heard. We don't
It
do
still
the
stays with me.
flash, you got a high wheeler. Oh, great stuff. So Robin Hood, 100%.
Yeah, and don't forget to re-up the condom jar. That's important as well. Gary Barber. Gary Barber became a YouTube member. Well, welcome along, buddy. There's actually quite a few members on my channel now, so I need to treat you guys with some special exclusive content, maybe.
Like an OnlyFans page?
Yeah, M8566 for $5 here. When are these creatives going to get over themselves? We've had diversity representation for decades. They aren't doing anything groundbreaking. Well, they've got representation, which in and of itself is fine, but they're making it on the nose, they're making it contrived, and they're imbuing it with all sorts of identity politics, in particular gender and sexuality politics, where they're making their identity their brand, which isn't a cool thing to do. So I don't think they'll get over themselves until they're no longer given a blank check to make content where there's no audience for it.
Yeah, when the money runs out, they will.
Yeah. Eject the curtain. Gifted 1 Greg Owen membership. Man, piling up over there for the G-Meister. Ballistic Mech for Australia, $10. Top MC Tiernan Entertainment. No toxic slop here. Can't wait for the Greg Drag Show. Yeah, I think we're entitled to that. We got a little bit of that when you had your daughter's little dresses on there for a while. Maybe you.
I'll bring those back. I tell you, when I hit 1 million with the gold button, I will do full drag.
Greg, I'm gonna remember that.
There you go.
Yeah.
And like 9 years from now, when you hit 1 million, I'll be like, Greg.
It's gonna come back to haunt me real bad.
Yeah, it'd be worth it though. M8566 member for 3 months. Riri is the perfect leftist character. She feels entitled to everything, and despite all the help she's received, it's never enough. That's right. She's given absolutely everything, and she could do the time-honored thing of, pitching to investors, maybe starting off small scale. Here's some projects. See that you can get used to me as a known quantity. I can be a good boon for your company and for your investors. So invest in me, and then maybe by the time I'm 23, I can pitch my iron suit at you, and maybe you can invest in that too. But no, she's got to have it all straight away, and because that's authentic. And you've got to maximize and be maximalist about your attitude towards the world, even though you've got a Tony Stark full-paid scholarship to MIT. Michael C. Michael C. became a YouTube member. My God, so many members. MA566, member for 10 months again. Kristen is right. Her parents are Trinidadian. Well, there you go.
I know my people.
All right. Let's have a look at this begin here. J. Brad, $10. What makes the show so frustrating is that with enough characters, 7, to make a Young Avengers show now, but instead they're wasting time making this stuff instead. BP2, what's that? An acronym?
Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Oh, forever, yeah. Already had enough origin. Well, can anyone lean in on that? A little outside my wheelhouse.
Riri showed up in Wakanda Forever. And the funny thing about the show is it makes a point that it would have been better off if Agua Papi, who everyone hated, but I loved because he's Smoke Wagon, it would have been better if he'd have just killed her because she became basically a villain. At least that security guard who, died, and, the people who died because of Riri, they probably would have been much better off if, Namor had just killed her like he had planned. So, oopsie.
Namor, who gets more of a tongue roll than Galadriel.
Glorious. I love him. I don't care what anybody says.
The show forgot that movie existed because the show,
apparently
dicks a bunch of
stuff.
They
buried him. His ex-girlfriend came out and called him a predator, and instead of digging into it, they just buried him completely. And then, inevitably she's full of crap, so they're bringing him back for the next Avengers.
Well, A. Bingham for $19.99. Pay us ex machina was a great subtle line in Greg's Ironheart video. Thanks for the chuckle.
Proud of that one.
I love it when you have something super obscure in a video, like a little clip or something, and there's just one person who gets it and they make a comment. I love that so much.
It's great.
Yeah, it makes it so worthwhile. Floyd $10. This is my favorite podcast. Might even be in my top 5 as well. So take my money. Thanks, Floyd. Appreciate it.
We're getting up there for Echo.
And Gary Barber for $10. There's more hope for England in 28 years later than in real life. Yeah, that might be true. I think I made the joke at the top of my video that England is full of rage creatures and is sapped of all resources and has no hope. And the England of the film is also quite similar along those lines. All right, well, that just about takes us away through the end of the stream. Another banger. So it just leaves me to go around the horn and ask everyone what they're up to. I'll start with Mr. Greg Owen.
Still working on a couple of videos. I'm doing a positive review of K-pop Demon Hunters. It was so good that I just got to make a whole video about why it was fantastic, and also the Lego Movie, which is an apology from a video that is no longer public. And then this Thursday, if you are a second tier member, a share owner of the channel, private stream this Thursday to talk about a video that we're going to make together about heroes in the style of a recent that is about villains.
Brilliant.
So
okay,
join up.
Congratulations on your 12,000 amassed for your charity drive. So that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, congrats on that, Greg.
Awesome. They might have a 5K in the fall, and I'm thinking about doing that and having people sponsor me to watch this chubby fella try to run 3 miles. So we'll see if that is possible, or if I die in the process. I don't know.
Fantastic, man. You kind of get me down a little bit because you're such a character of such impeccable moral probity, of such astonishing model citizenship, that when I have to go back to my crappy life, it kind of brings me down. So I think you need some fatal flaw somewhere. I think that'd be really good for me. So can you check that out and maybe look into that?
I will. It's nice of you to say. It's just I just don't put those on camera. This is that's movie magic right there. Those close to the vest.
All right. So Movie Cynic, you got your 200,000 subs and you went on a gigantic vanity tour of Mr. Brown, and then now here is a victory lap and celebration. So what can you tell the folks?
Well, I released an Ironheart video a couple days ago, and another one's dropping soon because I didn't realize that all 3 episodes are coming out tonight, all at the same time. I thought it would be weeks from now. So that's what
I can't do it, man. I can't watch another 3 episodes of that show. I don't think I can bring myself to do it.
Yeah, it's a little torturous, but it's like, I don't know. It's so easy to tear apart. It's such a breezy show to
I guess that's true.
Get through in that way. Then it's worth it once it's over, I guess.
Is this the last of the girl bosses? Is there anything after this?
I don't know, because like I was saying, that it felt like it was from another era. It's because it is, and they said they're moving more in that Thunderbolts direction, but Despot's torn that apart, so maybe that's not such the best idea.
Strange, because it's an ostensibly progressive show, but the socio-cultural ground has moved under its feet in the 3 or 4 years since it was first initially greenlit. So it's progressive but dated at the same time. It's a strange watch.
Yeah, it really is a bizarre thing to see, and it's probably going to end up being the worst of all the Marvel productions, period, whether it's a television show or a movie.
Yeah. Well, Kristen McTannen, what can you tell the folks?
Well, I've started doing monthly interviews on my channel, The Nonsense Free Editor. The one I just came out with was with Tim Grawl, who's the CEO of StoryGrid, and they do writers' workshops. They don't sell courses, they do workshops, including one-on-one. So a lot of writers like that. And next month, we'll be talking to a military sci-fi independent author who is just doing gangbusters, and basically it'll be about the experience of being a military veteran and infusing that into your writing and what that means and how it separates you from other fiction. So looking forward to that. Ella Marine.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. All right, and Despot of Antrim.
I'm working on a worst to best of Danny Boyle movies. So my next video will be July 20th, and I'll be reviewing 15 movies in it. I'll be interested to see how that video does. I don't expect much from it at first, but we'll see.
15, yeah. And very diverse, from Slumdog Millionaire.
Very eclectic. He's a bizarre director because he has made some masterpieces and he's made some truly mind-bendingly awful shit. And he's very, very eclectic. Bit of a strange director, but it's really that's been a very interesting project for me to go over all 14 of his movies, and a lot of them I watched twice, making detailed notes, looking at them all, and getting a real sense of what he's like as a director. Very interesting project. Hopefully the video is successful. I'm not optimistic, but if it is, it'd be great because it means I could do it again with a different director in future.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. That's great.
That sounds like a cool project.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do a shameless plug for me. I got my own Substack now, the Echo Chamberlain Substack. and
Nice.
it's crammed full of articles that are stuff you're used to seeing on my channel, which is culture and entertainment. And it's also some politics stuff in there, some New Zealand politics, the total decline of New Zealand cinema, Jacinda Ardern's missed opportunities, a big deep dive into that, looking at some American politics in there. So if you're digging my vibe and you want to see me, my wider thoughts and my more expanded ideas on stuff, then I'd be very grateful if you would check that out and drop us a sub, because I want to head up to 100 subs. And then I'm going to pick Kristen's mind in a second to find out how many subs I have to get before I can monetize it and all that stuff. But that's by the by. So if anyone wants to check that out, I'd be deeply grateful. If you're an Echo Chamberlainian, an Echo Chamberlite, an Echo Chamberlainer, then maybe check this out, because you might enjoy some of the same content. So cheers for that, team. Right, so I think that's everything all done, and I guess it just remains for me to thank Mr. Greg Owen, Movie Cynic, Desperate Vantram, and Kristen McTiernan, and to end the stream, of course, by putting up some final thoughts, which I've culled from the internet, just to see us out. So, haere rā, and we'll see you next time.